Hello everyone. So today is the revision session for your topic 4, which is accounting for overheads. In this accounting for overheads, we cover 7 learning outcomes. Alright. So in today's lecture, we're gonna revise all the learning outcomes that we already covered in our previous 3 sessions. So first learning outcome was about the cost classification on the behalf of the behavior, means the types of cost on behalf of behavior. So there are mainly 4 kinds of cost: fixed cost, variable cost, semi-variable cost, and step cost. Right. So that is basically the behavior. We're not gonna cover learning outcome 2 because this is not part of your syllabus. So we move on to the learning outcome 3. Learning outcome 3 is basically about economic of scales or the cost behavior examples on the behalf of the per units. Like as variable cost per unit does not change as per the level of activity change. Right? And fixed cost per unit change as the production level increase or decrease. This is called the behavior. Right? After learning outcome 3, we move on to the learning outcome 4. Learning outcome 4 is about the accounting for overheads. What will be the accounting treatment of overheads, how we transfer information from various kinds of overheads account to the overhead main T account, and then overhead account balance transfer to the working process, and working process finished good, and finished good cost of goods sold, and so on. Same like as direct material and direct labor. So that is your learning outcome 4. Learning outcome 5 is about the cost allocation of service department to the production department. All right. Why? Because in production department, on the behalf of production department, we calculate factory overheads, right? In this factory overhead, there is not only 100% cost of factory indirect expenses comes from the operating department. There is a contribution of service department as well. So we're gonna allocate it, the cost of service department to the production department. So we have mainly 3 methods. In these 3 methods included, the first method is direct distribution method, right? Second one is a step down method, and third one is the algebraic method. So we're going to study these 3 different methods and the situations to apply these 3 methods as well, right? That is your learning outcome 5. Learning outcome 6 is about the allocation of factory overheads. How do we allocate total factory overhead cost? So mainly we have 2 different approaches. The first one is a traditional costing method, and second one is the ABC, stands for activity-based costing method. So with the help of these 2 different methods, we allocated the total cost of factory overheads. Right? Some companies, they apply traditional costing, and some company apply activity-based costing. So it depends upon companies to company and situations of the company, because traditional costing has different situations and different nature of the company, and for the activity-based costing methods, the company nature is different. Right? So that is your cost allocation method. And the last learning outcome, which is learning outcome 7, is about the over and under apply. Right, so in terms of the over and under apply, I have to give you some numerical examples. With the help of those examples, you can learn what is over and under apply and what will be the accounting treatment for over and under applied overhead. Right. So we start with the introductions of accounting for overheads. In introductions, we're gonna have a look at what is the meaning of overhead first, right? So, introduction. Right. So, what is factory overheads. Factory overheads means any kinds of cost apart from direct material and direct labor in a factory. It's called factory overheads. Correct? Beside direct material and direct labor. Alright. Beside this cost, whatever costs occur in a factory, of course in relation of production, it's called factory overhead. Sometimes we call it manufacturing overhead. In simple language, we call it indirect manufacturing cost. Alright? Of course, because these costs, direct material and direct labor, is your direct cost. Alright? Direct plus indirect is a total cost. Alright? Apart from indirect cost, whatever costs occur, that's called indirect cost. Alright? So, what are the types of factory overheads? Factory overheads divided into three parts. First one is indirect material cost. Alright. Second one is indirect labor cost. Alright. And third one is other indirect cost. Alright, so start with indirect material cost. Indirect material cost means the cost which is indirectly involved into production. Alright, the cost which is indirectly involved into production related to material. Alright, so what is the indirect material cost example? The example is, it could be a wastage when company produce its product. So when worker they are involved into production, probably sometime worker they waste the material. So the material wastage also an example of indirect material cost. Alright. Another example of indirect material, for example, here is a water bottle. Alright. In this water bottle, here is a label. Alright. So a company use some kinds of glue to stick that label. Alright. So that glue is an example of indirect material cost. Alright, because the main material for this product of course is the water and the plastic. Alright, but we need a glue in order to stick this label on the bottle. Alright, so that we using the glue or any other kinds of chemicals to stick that paper on the bottle. That is example of indirect material cost. Alright. Next one is indirect labor cost. As you can see the name, indirect. So means in simple language, the labor which is indirectly involved into production. It's called indirect labor cost. Right? Such as supervisor. Alright? The cost of supervision is indirect labor cost because the supervisor doesn't directly involve into a production. It's what supervisor does not work on the machine. Supervise basically monitor and look at the people, right? The people who are working in a factory. So whatever money we are paying to the supervisor, that's called the indirect labor cost. We have some other examples of indirect labor cost as well, such as the security guard. All right. Security guards basically take care of the security, or the inventories or some other kinds of assets related to the factory. Right? So whatever money we are paying to security guards, that's also an example of indirect labor cost. So apart from indirect material and indirect labor, now we have some other indirect cost as well, which cannot be categorized indirect material and indirect labor because of the nature. So what are the examples of other indirect cost? So the first one could be a depreciation. Alright? You know the depreciation over the period of time, value of assets goes down, depreciated. So the cost of depreciation of the assets which is using in a factory. Alright? So depreciation is a other component or other parts of the factory overheads. Right? Another one is a rent. right? We're renting a factory and we pay periodic rent, all right, to the landlord of the factory, landlord of that asset. Right? So that is called the others, right? Another examples could be insurance. We could have insurance for the assets which is used for the production purpose, or the insurance for that particular plant. All right. So that also example of the others factory overhead. Another example could be repair and maintenance. Repair and maintenance. So we have to repair and maintain the assets which involve into production, such as the machine. So whatever money we are spending for the repair and the maintenance of that machines, that could be example of your factory overheads, right? So that's all about the meaning and the types of factory overhead. So that's the basic introductions about the factory overheads. Right? So now we move on to the learning outcome 1, which is the nature and the behavior of the cost, or cost classification on behalf of nature and behavior. Right. So, learning outcome 1, which is cost classification. Cost classification only on behalf of nature and behavior, because that is more relevant to the factory overheads. Right. So, so here the cost mainly, according to nature and behavior, it's classified into 4 categories. Right. So the first one is a fixed cost. Right. Second one is a variable cost.